Over the last few decades, there have been multiple attempts to rework the WHOIS system. Unfortunately, these have not been successful. These attempts have generally tried to make small changes to the WHOIS system. That is, they tried to fix the system by changing as little as possible. This really hasn't worked. When a registrant establishes a domain name with a registrar, it initiates some information exchange between the two. Historically, that information has served two purposes. First, the registrar needs a certain amount of information to establish a business account with the registrant. They include the name of the person, how to contact them, how they're paying for the domain name, and related services. Other information is generated from this exchange. For example, the registration date and the period of registration. The second type of information includes the names and other information about other individuals related to the domain. For example, the administrative, technical, and billing contacts. As concerns around the challenges of privacy, accuracy, and cost have become more prevalent, new and updated policies, agreements, and programs have been developed to address these concerns. Recent regulations, such as the European General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, have necessitated urgency in addressing specific concerns, but has been a very crude and blunt force. The GDPR wasn't created specifically for the internet, and certainly not specifically for the domain name registration process. So in a situation like this, there are two distinct approaches that one can use to consider the needed changes. The first is an incremental approach. Here, one addresses each of the items individually as they come up, making the minimum set of changes to leave as much as possible everything the way it has been. The second approach is a systemic one. Here one considers the current state and thinks about what systems of information, policies, agreements, and so on would be needed to address today's challenges and the needs that are likely to come up in the foreseeable future. The incremental approach has been used so far, has brought together competing interests, but has done so in a way that tends to put them in direct negotiation as opposed to common problem solving. Much more of a zero-sum approach as opposed to a win-win solution for all of the different parties. This has always struck me as unfortunate because I think it is in fact possible to do much better. Project Jake provides a framework and a model for looking at things as an interconnected system. When I was chair of ICANN, we initiated a very substantial study on whether it's possible to build what we now call a differentiated access system. It would allow different parties under different circumstances to look at the different parts of the total registration data and to try to think things afresh. I thought it was an important piece of work. It was intended to provide a new path for policy development process within ICANN. It was, however, not successful in that sense. The policy development process has repeatedly started from scratch and focuses on how do we make the fewest changes. So when I left the board, finishing my lengthy term of service, I continued to think through the issues. I contacted a handful of people who felt similarly dissatisfied with the past process, who were deeply knowledgeable about the technical, business, and political aspects, and who were willing to have informal, off-the-record discussions and participated in a thought process. After a lengthy period of working quietly to think through the issues, we decided it was time to start communicating our thoughts and results. We named this project Jake after Jake Feinler. Jake, whose full name is Elizabeth Feinler, was the key person at Stanford Research Institute, or SRI, the #2 site on the ARPANET. SRI was later renamed SRI International as part of its formal separation from Stanford University. Jake was the first curator of this registration information for the ARPANET and has done a spectacular job over the years of organizing network information. With her permission, we've named this project in her honor. Can the work we're doing with Project Jake help move us to a system that is better managed, better controlled, and better understood? We hope so. Specifically, we hope this work is effective and people adopt the tools and make use of them, that each of the constituencies will be served better, that privacy will be preserved, and that people are protected against harassment and stalking. The trade-offs surfaced by this work are not designed to impose any particular point of view while ignoring everyone else's. Instead, they aim to create insights that lead to a careful discussion that winds up with solutions, with trade-offs, and with decisions that serve a wide variety of interests in a balanced way. And that is my hope